GALAXIAS Chapter 16 is officially out, and this was another fantastic chapter, as we actually not only get to see a bit more of this adventure, but we actually get to see a really cool new character that I'm incredibly excited to see in action. And we also actually got a brand new dragon waifu, so I think a lot of people are going to be happy with this chapter. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you more. Also, manga is going to be on break again next week due to the magazine, so we're going to have another week with no chapter. But either way, this is a really nice place to leave things off at for the final chapter of 2024. And stay tuned to the end of this video, because I do have something to announce at the end of it, and it's very important, so stay tuned to the end. Now with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this chapter. So chapter 16 of GALAXIAS, titled The Royal Zodiacs. As we start off from how last chapter ended off with everybody getting kicked off the train after neraid basically destroyed the bottom end of the train, even after saving them from bandits. Geo says, well, we ended up walking again. I look so excited to ride a train too. Why did you have to cause such a ruckus, telling neraid you just smash up the floor? neraid saying, that's hindsight-based opinion. You were in a tight spot, don't just ignore that. Give me crap. And Joe's surprised, like, wow, I didn't think you were the type to say stuff like hindsight-based opinion. Sorry. Schmidt says that if they really wanted to, Schmidt could have used his abilities to just cover the compensation, but Joe says no. You just show them the illusion of money. I want to have a clean journey. Crime is out of the question. As then dawns on her again that she is technically a traitor to the entire nation due to being the daughter of a known traitor and accused murderer of the king. And now she's having this little freak out. neraid and Schmidt are thinking of going by where the river is to take a break. Schmidt said he can tell the river's in that direction because he's got a pretty good nose and can smell it. As neraid says, oh, so that's how it is. Neat. I've been smelling something too, but it's coming from where the train tracks are and it kind of stinks. But Schmidt says, well, that's sewage released from the train, as neraid freaks out as Schmidt could have told him sooner. I like this sort of like information box, basically saying that up until most recent years, bathrooms on a train just let out all of the stuff in the bathroom as the train was going onto the tracks, which is information I didn't really expect to really get. But I guess it made it funnier? I don't know. I feel like it didn't really need to. I feel like we could have gotten it from context clues anyway. It's in an instance that Geo feels something pass by them, as Schmidt says that was the cane dragon that just flew over the kingdom. Remember in the previous arc, we got an introduction about like what the cane dragon is, and it's able to exist in the higher atmosphere of the kingdom and circles around it, searching for things under the previous Dragon King's orders, from what I can believe, or the first Dragon King's order. Geo was wondering why, because there's nothing there. It shined before, but Schmidt says it's not like you'd be able to see it anyway. The cane dragon is normally hundreds of miles high, but sometimes it lowers its trajectory so that it can monitor the surface. When it passes through the upper atmosphere, the heat generated must make it look like it's shining. So almost like a meteorite, or as Gito says, a shooting star. But Schmidt says up until now it only came down once every few days, but lately that frequency has clearly been increasing. It's almost as if something is happening they can't look away from, as this grasps Gito's attention. It might be because the Dragon King died, and maybe there's a weird shift in the country and the Cane Dragon can sense it, which is why it's searching lower and lower now, and it's increasing its searches a lot more frequently. That could be it. As then the sun begins to set as night is coming, and so the group decide to camp out for the night. Jill's wondering what's the light that she sees, and is it a train? But it can't be. It's not getting any closer. Oh, it's a star. They put out the fire, Schmidt goes to bed, and neraid is going off to take a leak, but he sees Geo is still up, as it's shown that she's actually staring at the night sky with all of the stars in it. As she says, you can see the horizon from the starlight. It appears so clearly when the sky is dark, huh? But neraid asks her, weren't you able to see this stuff when it got dark on the island? But Geo reveals that the air around the beach was always cloudy so it never looked like this. As she asks neraid, did you know those stars are super far away? This light we see was emitted a long time ago, so we're really seeing the past forms of the star. It's kind of like a time capsule. neraid's impressed with how much Geo knows, unlike him, but Geo says that the stuff that she knows right now is not that big of a deal. It's just simple knowledge anyone can get by reading it in a book. She just had the time and the right environment, so it's not her own real ability. Lately, she's been wondering if she's just holding neraid back. Especially ever since they left the island, she hasn't really done anything, so she just keeps getting saved by him, and is thinking that at this rate, things might go bad if this keeps happening. Which I understand. After chapter 1, where she like managed to do that really cool moment against Yerks, Jill was never much of a fighter. She was more so the knowledge-based one, but she did get put into a very precarious situation, mainly in the most recent arc and what right now with the robber. Her knowledge has helped to an extent, but it's never been anything to the point where she actively contributed in a fight. But I do feel like with her having this type of little sense of doubt, we are going to lead up to her getting some important moment later down the road. More so, Gio is more so the emotional core of the group and is someone that helps pick people back up. As Nera just shouts in her face, calling her an idiot, telling her that he heard from Reno that how he was too scared to move, and so she carried him back to the town with her in order to like get him to face his fears and to actually get up and do something and help the town. Now before Nera actually says something very sweet, he inadvertently says something kind of harsh, calling her weak, and that compared to him, she's nothing but snot. She's like, okay, you're kind of insulting me now, you better get to the point really quick. But Nera says that's why she always listens to people like Polka and Reno. Someone like Neraid, who is like insanely strong right now, would never be able to help them or even understand them and push them forward to actually, you know, overcome what was affecting them. As Neraid says that he can learn so much more about this world now, and that he's never once thought of her as holding him back. As she remembers the words that he asked her back in chapter 1, "Want to come with me? I'm sure it'll be more fun with the two of us." As we get a brief panel of Gio smiling, as we move over to the next train station. Now, I will say I did kind of like this moment. It was kind of comedic, but the fact that it's kind of addressing very early on that Gio was not much of a combatant at the beginning and only has like basic certain whatever knowledge that she learned from the books on her island, she is more so the emotional core, like I mentioned. She's been focused more on helping other people and empathizing with them and helping them overcome whatever troubles that they've come along with. Mainly with Reno and getting him back to town so he can face the townspeople and try and make up for things, and eventually leading to him take out the illusion that Schmidt created to help get his confidence back. And Polka with helping set things right for the town, which was honestly really nice. That has been Jill's role so far, but I do feel like as things go forward, she will participate more maybe in the action sequences or get people out of jams where you can't really rely purely on There's a whole theory about her potentially actually awakening dragon powers. I actually have that as an idea for a video I want to get done at some point. Maybe next week, I don't know. I have a lot of stuff to consider about going through here. But Gio is still a very good character, and I like that we're addressing this early on because it feels like the mangaka wants to get this out of the air early on to probably build her up a lot more and actually help her in terms of her growth for the future of the story. But as the group make it to the train station, they finally make it to their next destination as we cut a little bit ahead. As we get this visit the world's only mid-air city, Grib, also known as the Fungus Kingdom. And man, this design for this place looks so cool. An entire town built off of like the tops of giant mushrooms in this giant canyon looks really cool. It also shows that the mangaka actually does have some really nice idea of making each individual town and environment a lot more distinct depending on where they're going. And so there is definitely a lot of creativity and imagination going into creating this world. So I'm excited to see where this next arc is going to lead us. But it's then we cut away from our main group as we cut to some lodge in the middle of a snowstorm, farther up north, in a particular village in the center of the Scorpio region. As a bunch of guys are getting drunk and talking about when this guy and his buddies were kind of relentlessly taking on a village and making things very difficult for them, destroying the place and making people suffer, even makes fun of the fact that one of the ladies there was saying a Dragon Knight will come and save us, but that this guy was the Dragon Knight of that area, and man, mangaka is not holding back with showing the negative repercussions of the law of dragonfolk fighting for the title of Dragon Knight. We saw this in the previous arc, and we're seeing it again now, as it seems like unregulated, these people who will end up gaining the title of dragonfolk will essentially try and do whatever they want under the guise of, I'm doing this for the kingdom, I'm the Dragon Knight, I have full jurisdiction, yada yada yada. It's then that somebody that I presume is either a customer or the owner's lodge tries to ask these guys to keep the volume down, but the guy says this place is for book learners to converse with each other. If you want to make a ruckus, can you do it elsewhere? But this assumed Dragon says, what do you expect? It's snowing outside and we're bored. We're Dragon Knights, so us being here is protection for your place. Once again, flaunting the power that he has as a Dragon Knight to the average person, saying, where do you get off talking that way to us while we're on the job? Do you feel a scrap of gratitude as he knocks the man back? Says, damn, you soured the mood. What you gonna do about it? As someone reading a book in a cloak says, that's enough out of it. You're bothering. As these guys surround this person says, what was that? Say it again. As this person says, years of foreshadowing is paying off right now and I'm entranced. Just these goosebumps, referring to the story that they were reading. And this Dragon Knight is saying that you're acting kind of weird. And one of his buddies says, oh, she's a chick. And so they start hitting on her, even getting up in her face saying, don't ignore us. As she says, are you really Dragon Knights? As the guy says, damn right. So come on. And before he finishes a sentence, she grabs her bookmark saying that's a relief. As in an instant, she just slices off this guy's head, leaving a giant chunk out of his neck. As she says, I don't need to hold back. As the man falls down to the ground and she ends up doing this with just her bookmark, somehow, some way, as she then slices the top of the head and the eyes out of one of the other goons. As someone tries to get her from behind, she then grabs the guy's head, flicks out his mouth, and launches the teeth from within his mouth through his head, and literally shooting a hole in the guy behind him's head, using the teeth of the guy that she literally just killed. And before the leader of this group can even fully react to everything, a really cool way of utilizing the panels, his head is completely carved clean off. As she says, I suppose that's the best I can do with paper. Good grief, even after all the way out here, there's work to do. I went and soiled my bookmark with vulgar blood. As she says, now that it's come to this, I suppose I owe the Grim Reaper an apology, though perhaps these men will suffice. As we get the reveal of Antares, who is actually the Dragon King direct retainer, a member of the Royal Zodiac. And probably should, since that was the title cover, but my god, does her design look amazing. She is a dragonfolk member of the Royal Zodiac, and based off of how she was introduced, it seems like she could also hide her tail like Neraid does, which is really, really cool, but at least based off of how the panels were portrayed previously. And look, I'm just gonna say this, we are 2 for 2 for Dragon waifus within the last 10 chapters of this series. It is insane. First we got Kerner, and now we got Antares. I love her already. You also got a bit of side boob action. And the final page of the chapter, barging in is Yerkes and Kerner saying, big sis, as he says, why didn't you tell us you were swapping your sword? We searched for you for days, as they brought her sword back from the shop. She grabs it and says, several hours ago, I felt a powerful presence. So you've made your move, Neraid Kuiper. As the chapter ends with her drawing her blade. Another really cool panel to end off the chapter. But man, was this really a really cool chapter. Not only did we get a nice touching moment between Neraid and Geo, we got a bit more world building from this series, and we get to our next destination for our group with presumably the next arc starting. And now we get introduced to our first member of the Royal Zodiacs, and she is freaking awesome. And seemingly she uses things to cut and cleave through everything. Her power was insane. She utterly decimated this group of assumed Dragon Knights with barely any effort. And with a bookmark too. Holy hell, that is insane. And we still don't even know what technically her dragon ability is. I can't even tell with how her tail is. Maybe skeleton, maybe blade dragon, I don't know. But man, does this get me excited, because we got introduced to one of who might actually be like one of the 12 strongest characters in the series based on what the whole thing Royal Zodiacs are. I'm excited to see what happens next in this series and how this arc going forward is going to end up being. But let me know what you guys think of this chapter down in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Also, based on how things have been going with GALAXIAS, I might not be doing weekly reviews for it in the future. I'll put a poll to see what you guys think. I might decide just to make it a monthly video going over the chapters in a singular batch, with me going over each chapter by chapter and then giving my thoughts overall. Because I feel like multiple weekly reviews hasn't been doing too great, and I feel like a giant batch review would probably give more information for everybody. It might end up being a bit more time for others. But let me know what you guys think of the decision. I'll put a poll up in the community tab. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this decision. And with all that's said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.